Yunqi once lived a privileged life as the second-generation son of a wealthy family. He hasn't been home in a long time, and a mysterious sword delivered to him makes him finally decide to go home and reunite with his family. Little does he know that a folk legend that has been going around for a decade is going to completely kill that plan. The day is November 11th in the year 1111. This day marks the date that the blue star meets the apocalypse. Zombies attack helpless people who can do nothing but run and scream in terror. The zombies are terrifying, and although they used to be people, now they are just mindless monsters that chase and attack other people. A girl runs through an empty corridor as a zombie follows close behind. With tears in her eyes, she desperately screams for the zombie to leave her alone, but it doesn't care and can't understand her. As she pushes herself to escape certain death, the only thing she can think about is getting back home to see her parents. She can't die like this until she's sure that her parents are safe. All she has to do is find a way to hide in the company's warehouse, and then she will be safe. As she reaches the end of the corridor, she's greeted by a zombie already inside, devouring the body of one of her coworkers. The man yells through the intense pain for her to run away as fast as she can, but the shock of seeing such a gruesome scene causes her to fall to the ground in fear instead. The zombie gets up as her coworker collapses, dead, and starts to stalk towards her while she inches away in fear. Then all at once, it charges her before she can react, and she braces herself for death, all the while wishing that someone would save her. Before the zombie can get to her, a man leaps from behind her with a sword and cleanly cuts the zombie in half, killing it instantly. Killing the level 1 zombie gives him 10 points in this horrible game. The girl, Lu Xin, looks up in awe at her coworker who appeared out of nowhere and saved her life. The man's name is Yun Qi, and from the massive sword in his hand, it's clear that he is someone who is prepared to survive the apocalypse. Another zombie comes up from behind her, going straight for Lu Xin's head. But Yunqi is faster, and a swift slash from his sword is enough to put an end to the monster before it can attack her. He asks her what exactly she's doing on the ground when she should be running away to save her life. That seems to snap her out of her daze, and she gets up to follow him through the war zone that was formerly an office building. The rest of the office has turned into an active war zone. The zombies chase and devour any humans they can find, and the number of living people slowly starts to dwindle. As soon as they get to the main area of the office building, they are immediately surrounded and chased by several zombies at once. Yunqi grabs her hand and pulls her behind him as the two of them run to escape the stampeding horde. Lu Xin can't believe that the apocalypse is really happening and still thinks that the entire thing is a dream. But this adventure is very much real and deadly. Even Yunqi would love it if this was just some kind of dream. But as he runs through the halls with Lu Xin, while being chased by dozens of bloodthirsty zombies, it's clear that this is very real and very dangerous. Yunqi is a 21-year-old young master of the Yun family of Zhongdu. Just 10 minutes ago, he was a rich second-generation son disguised as a typical office worker. Now he's been forced to fight for his life against hordes of zombies. As the two of them run through the halls trying to preserve their lives, Yunqi remembers what happened before all of this chaos even started. 10 minutes ago, Yunqi walked through the office that would soon be filled with blood, sporting a smug look on his face as he thought about his plans ahead. Lu Xin meets him as he struts through the office and asks if he's planning to work overtime for the day. After all, today was the day of the apocalypse prophecy, and she has been scared and would like him to walk her home. It's obvious that she's not really scared and just wants to use the prophecy as an excuse to spend some alone time with him. The prophecy has pretty much turned into an old folk tale that's been going on for 10 years. There's nothing for her to be afraid of, and even primary school students don't take it seriously now. Lu Xin nervously agrees with him, and it looks like her plan to spend some alone time with our MC fell flat. Before he leaves though, he asks her if she's really scared about going home alone. Seeing this as an opportunity to win him over, she tells him that she really is very scared, and she hopes that he won't be able to resist her cute charm. Instead, he turns and announces to the office that their goddess is scared of the apocalypse, and she wants someone to take her home after work. In an instant, the rest of the office workers crowd around her, desperately asking if she would give them the honor of taking her home. Lu Xin backs away awkwardly as she's completely surrounded by men hoping to get a second of her attention. Yunqi is just too stubborn, and it looks like he's escaped her advances once again. The man uses the commotion to escape and go to his desk to look at the package that he just received. The thought of the apocalypse crosses his mind. But just like he told Lu Xin, that prophecy has been going on for 10 years at this point, and most people usually just use it as an excuse to try to get their way. 10 years ago, the highly intelligent computer AI named Titan detected the approach of a dark star and predicted that the blue star, their home, would enter the era of the apocalypse on November 11th. This announcement caused humanity to panic initially, and the world government deployed the military to several regions while imposing a mass lockdown to make sure as many people were safe and protected as possible. At the time, people were terrified of the prediction, and everyone rushed home to protect themselves and take shelter. Over the past 10 years, humanity has been on high alert, but the dark star never appeared. Every year, November 11th came and went with no sign that anything would happen. Fighter jets would fly through the sky and soldiers would walk through the streets in an effort to try and keep people safe. By the 8th year of the same song and dance, people started to become complacent of having to lock themselves indoors once a year for seemingly no reason. They start complaining about why the rules are so strict when at this point, it's obvious that the apocalypse isn't coming anymore. All these strict rules are keeping people from going out. Now 10 years later, the prophecy isn't taken seriously anymore, and some people even use it as an excuse to get off work early or get favors from others. Yoonki doesn't have time for any of that. What interests him more right now is the contents of the package that was sent to him. He opens the box, and inside is a black longsword with a note as well. A coworker passing by asks Yoonchi if he bought some kind of new model of kids' toys, and he's shocked since our MC is usually the one person that isn't interested in any of that. It may look like a model toy of some sort, but this sword is very real. It's called the Blade of Annihilation, and it is made of the hardest available metal today called Titan's Fine Gold. It can cut through gold and jade like chopping a melon, and this was sent by his family for self-defense. It's definitely not a toy model, but instead, it's a high-tech killing weapon that is worthy of being listed as a rank 3 prohibited item in the civilian sector. He wonders how his aunt even managed to transport such a thing to him in the first place. Behind the letter is another note, asking him how much longer he plans to stay away from home before returning to the family house. It has already been 3 years since he left home, and at first, he didn't want to live a life arranged by his family. He fled from Gyeongdu and came to District 105 in the hopes of living life on his own. But in the end, he has been gone for so long that it's starting to become problematic. It's time for him to stop this irresponsible running away act and return home to his family. For now, he plans to wait until the next day when he will get his salary, then he will head back home to his family. As if to taunt him for having that thought, the entire environment changes as soon as he makes that decision. Loud bells start to ring out and the sky turns a crimson dark, signaling the start of an apocalypse that humanity has been anticipating for a decade. Yoonchi heads to a window to see what's happening outside, and the sky is completely engulfed by a massive dark star crashing into their planet. A voice rings out as people start to panic. It tells them that the blue star, which humanity calls home, is about to become a part of the global apocalypse game. From now on, the apocalypse has come, and he has lost his freedom as human beings, and instead, they will all become monsters and NPCs in the apocalypse game. The game is currently in its warm-up stage where the people will have 24 hours to earn game points and improve their NPC status. The higher the level, the stronger the NPCs and monsters will be after the warm-up stage. Then in 24 hours, players will enter the game and the true apocalypse begins. NPCs cannot kill players, but they can be killed by players. Everything that happens from now on should be taken seriously, because death in the game is the equivalent to dying in reality. Now the big question on Yoonchi's mind is, if everyone will become monsters and NPCs, then who are the players? Now that the apocalypse has begun, things around the world start to change to make everything feel more like a game world. Global communications have been adjusted and the Game World channel opens up, allowing people to communicate through the game chat. All other forms of communication have been disabled. Now that the world is set to change, the first step for the NPCs is to pick a class within the next 5 minutes. Once those 5 minutes are over, the game will officially begin. A character profile for Yoon QI appears right in front of him, and it shows him his current stats. He's currently level 1 with 20 points to distribute to different stats. Every level up will give him 2 points to spend on his attributes. It also shows that he has been chosen to become an NPC, and he will be able to make use of the points he gets once he levels up. Right now, his strength stat is level 9, his agility is 9, his mind is 10, and his physique is 10. Each of these stats increase certain abilities and the speed of his attacks. The only thing that hasn't been filled out are his professions and talents. The interface looks just like a holographic game, and it asks him to pick his class for the game. If they have really entered some kind of game apocalypse world, then picking the right class will be vital to helping him survive in the early stages. There are several class options for him to pick from. The first is the warrior class, which has high strength and constitution, and also uses melee attacks as well as a bloodlust effect, which increases his strength and attack speed after the first melee attack for a limited amount of time. Then there's the mage class, which excels in spirit and constitution stats. The mage class gets a buff that increases the casting speed for spells by 15%. Then finally, there's the knight class, which has incredible constitution and strength. Constitution is its highest attribute, and it increases by an additional 20% over the course of a battle, allowing him to ignore 50% of their body weight to improve performance. The knight class looks incredibly strong, and Yoon QI considers choosing between the knight class and the warrior class. Since he has a sword already, then it will definitely be useful if whatever class he uses can utilize it. He decides to pick the knight class, and the system pops up with a message informing him that unusual energy has been detected in him. And as a result, his class has been upgraded to the triple S rank class, Ghost Knight. The Ghost class has its 3 main stats as Constitution, Strength, and Spirit, while having Agility as its secondary attribute. It also has a special class skill called Decay, which allows him to place an undispellable death mark on a target, which reduces their healing by 10% and reduces their level upon death. The game has just started, and Yunchi has already received a game-breaking ability. On top of that, He also receives an awakened talent called Son of the Plane, which allows him to designate up to 3 non-combat attributes to be increased by 10 times. That means that he will be able to level up certain skills 10 times faster than other people. The class selection ends right as he receives these upgrades, and the game is set to start in 5 seconds. As the system counts down, some people realize that they haven't received any class options. They complain amongst each other as the countdown ends, and the people who didn't receive class options start to morph into unrecognizable beings. Their eyes turn blood red, and their skill darkens to a strange purple as they all start throwing up blood. In a blink of an eye, several of the office workers have been turned into zombies. The zombies groan in pain and cough up blood, and it's clear that they are in incredible pain. A woman tries to ask one of the struggling people what is going on with them, but they continue to scream in pain and cough up blood. Then suddenly, one of the zombies lunges towards the worried woman who was trying to check on them and pins her to the ground. Then it bites her in the neck as she screams for help. The other zombies follow suit, biting into their former coworkers without mercy and throwing the entire office space into chaos. People run for their lives as the humans that were bitten before start to rise again as zombies. It looks like whatever is going on with these zombies is contagious, and one bite is enough to pass across the virus. The girl that was freshly bitten and turned into a zombie runs towards another coworker to try and bite him, but Yunqi is there in an instant to block the attack with his sword. He yells to his panicking coworkers to run as fast as they can and avoid getting caught by any zombies while he works to hold them off. Yunqi had been fighting off the zombies and stopping them from attacking his coworkers when he ran into Lu Xin about to be attacked by a zombie. The two of them run through the blood-stained hallways as they try to find a safe place to hide, when they eventually run into another survivor who Yunqi almost cuts down without hesitation. The man gets down to his knees and begs not to be killed as Yunqi recognizes him as Liu Yang. He pushes past the man and tells him to be careful next time and not to show up suddenly without warning. As the two walk away, Liu Yang yells at Yunqi for being so heartless that he would willingly abandon someone who used to be in the same team as him. Our MC saw Liu Yang in trouble, but didn't offer to lend a helping hand despite their relationship as co-workers. Yunqi only spares him a single glance, and he reminds Liu Yang that he used to plagiarize all of Yunqi's ideas and even took credit for his achievements. On top of that, he once forced a female colleague to undergo 3 abortions. Our MC has no reason to help someone as horrible as that. Then he walks off with Lu Xin, as the man continues to beg, even revealing that his class is a knight, so if they team up together, then they won't have to worry about zombies for a while. Lu Xin even tries to speak up for the man, since knights are already known to be very strong. No matter how strong his class is, though, that doesn't change the fact that he's still scum. Liu Yang has heard enough and picks up a broom to attack Yunqi from behind. Before he can swing the broom, though, Yunqi quickly turns around and strikes the man with the butt of his sword, sending him flying back. Before he can get up and continue attacking the pair, a zombie walks up behind him and attacks him from behind. Yunqi once again tells Lu Xin to get moving, but she can't believe that they would really just let the man die without helping. Her words cause our MC to stop for a moment. He tells Lu Xin that she needs to put away her unnecessary goodness in this apocalyptic setting. Right now, they are in the middle of the end of the world, and they don't have time to worry about anyone but themselves. Yunqi doesn't want someone on his team that is naive enough to give empathy to people and end up becoming a victim. There's too many zombies for them to be having this conversation in the middle of the office corridor, so he tells her to follow him so they can find a safe place to rest first. As they continue their journey, someone opens the door in front of them. It's their co-worker Jia, and it looks like she has already found a safe place to stay. Yunqi and Lu Xin head into the empty conference room and barricade the door with chairs as zombies pound on it from outside. The zombies pound on the door relentlessly, trying to break in, but thankfully, it looks like the barricade is just strong enough to hold them back. There were so many people at this company, but now the large number has been reduced to a measly 7 survivors. They all cower in the office, unsure about what they are going to do next or how they are going to escape this situation. Jia cries on the floor, wondering how exactly the world could suddenly come to this. The most important thing for them to do right now is stay alive. At least they can be thankful that the zombies aren't able to rush into the office. The fat man at the table pounds his fist on the wood and blames Jia for the zombies banging on the doors. The whole reason that the zombies found this room is because she opened the door and let Yunqi and Lu Xin into the room. There was already no food to begin with, and now the zombies are blocking their only form of escape. The man screaming at the others is the company's manager, Cao Yuqian. He's more upset that people are bringing death towards him, and now he's in even more danger because of it. The security guard, Zhao Nian, doesn't like the manager's tone and wonders what in the world he's saying. Zhao Nian rushed in behind Yunqi and attracted several zombies. He is the reason why so many of them were banging on the door in the first place. When Jia opened the door for them early, the guard suddenly rushed in behind them while attracting several zombies with him. Cao Yuqian doesn't hold back his words and continues to yell at the security guard for bringing the zombies to the office in the first place. As far as he's concerned, if the security guard hadn't brought all the zombies chasing him to the office, then they wouldn't be trapped in this situation. He's also covered in blood, so there's a high chance that Zhao Nian has already become infected and is about to turn into a monster. That's the last straw for Zhao Nian, and he steps up to the fat man, grabbing him by his collar and lifting him up. He's tired of the man's constant abuse of his subordinates, and he has tolerated the man's sharp tongue for long enough. Now he wants to finally put an end to it. The manager, not realizing the situation he has found himself in, warns the security guard to be careful of the way he talks if he doesn't want to get fired. But the apocalypse is in full swing, and getting fired is not one of his top 10 worries at the moment. He then carries the man over to a nearby window and uses him to break the glass, before dangling him out of the side of the building. They are currently on the 17th floor, and a fall like that will turn Xiao Yuqian into a human pancake. Lucian tries to calm the tension down and tells Zhao Nian to stop before he kills the manager. She reveals that she chose the mage class and also awakened a skill called Holy Light which can purify wounds. If he allows her, then she can treat his wounds and make sure that he doesn't turn into a monster. That was a really stupid move from Lucian, and Yunqi can't believe that she so carelessly revealed information about her class. The greatest danger often comes from people around them, and the other survivors realize that. Even though the group has been together for a decent amount of time, no one has revealed their classes. Everyone must still have their guards up against each other. If she continues to do things like this, then she's going to get into big trouble. She continues to talk, confirming that she's a mage, so he doesn't have to worry about the infection. As long as they work together, then they can prevent anything bad from happening and even overturn their fates. At least that's what she thinks will happen if she tries to calm him down and talk rationally. Even Cao Yuqian tries to convince the security guard that there is no need for him to resort to murder since there is someone who can heal his wounds. Instead of listening to both their pleas, Zhao Nian drops the manager out of the window to his death, then steps towards Lu Xin, who backs away in fear after seeing the man's crazy eyes. The screams of the manager fills the room for a moment as he falls to his death, before audibly splattering on the ground below. She asks Zhao Nian why he would do that, but the reason is simple. The security guard simply didn't like the fat man. It doesn't matter that it was a human life. The manager is just a stepping stone. Zhao Nian chose to become a warrior, and as long as he has the skill to survive, then he can strike back against the apocalypse and become the world's master. As he starts spouting his delusions, his body begins to change, becoming a sickening purple as his eyes glow red. This is just evidence of the degree of horrors that people are capable of when there are no constraints of law and morality. It looks like the fat man was right, and Zhao Nian actually became a monster, just like the zombies outside. He steps towards the group of people, heading towards Lu Xin with the intention of making her his woman by force. She tries to run, but before he can grab her, a sharp swing of a sword from Yunqi is enough to cause the hulking zombie to step back. Yunqi steps in between the two of them, using his sword to protect the girl behind him. The zombie security guard asks our MC if he's interested in her as well, but he shuts that thought down immediately. He's only interested in her skills and nothing else. After all, there is no guarantee that survivors won't eventually get hurt in the apocalypse, so having a mage that can dispel the virus is very beneficial for him. Because of that, he has to make sure to protect her no matter what as they travel through the apocalypse together. Zhao Nian is furious that Yunqi would dare to steal what he has claimed, and he rips a fire extinguisher out of the wall to use as a weapon. Then he runs over to Yunqi, bringing the large metal above his head to slam it down on our MC. Yun Q blocks the attack with his sword, but the force is strong enough to push him back. As he holds back the fire extinguisher, he notices a deep wound on the side of the security guard's face. It's obvious that he's been hit and he has gotten infected. But even though he became a zombie, he can still talk normally. It looks like the mutation varies depending on the person's constitution. The warrior class has an amazing constitution. After they mutate, they become even stronger than other zombies. This went from a tense fight to a bomb that must be defused as soon as possible. Yunqi forces himself closer, then slashing down, cutting straight through Zhao Nian and the fire extinguisher in one move. With that, the fight is quickly over, and Yunqi wipes the blood against his clothes. The other office workers are shocked that two people died so quickly within a short period of time. Yunqi glances behind at Lu Xin, but she can't keep eye contact with him. Sometimes, it's better to show people what the consequences of their actions are, rather than trying to teach it with words. He hopes that Lu Xin will remember the consequences of being naive and stop being so reckless. Although he killed Zhao Nian because he was about to mutate, showing off his power and making people afraid of him would be way more advantageous for our MC. He turns around and glares at the rest of the office workers cowering in the corner and asks them if anyone else wants to try and take someone away from him. They quickly back away, telling him that they just want to survive, and they have no plans of crossing him. Yunqi puts away his sword and orders Lu Xin to treat their wounds while they figure out what to do. Outside the door, there are still a massive number of zombies trying to break down the door. Lu Xin tries her healing on Jiajia for the first time and tells the woman to inform her if she feels any discomfort. While Lu Xin heals them, Yunqi checks all his devices to see if he can make a connection with anyone. Just as he expected, all existing types of communication are no longer usable. The only way to connect with the outside world is through the world channel of the game, or people are probably thinking the same as they are right now. He checks the world chat, and most of the messages are just people panicking at the amount of zombies that are suddenly all over the place. Some people try to calm down the panic and assure everyone that a law enforcement team will rescue survivors, but it doesn't do much amidst the chaos. It looks like most people are isolated and helpless, and they are all relying on others to survive. Then Yunqi takes a look at his own stats. Given the dire situation and how everything went to heck, he didn't get to analyze the information properly. Judging from the panel, the only non-combat attributes are likely to qualify for the 10 times boost from his talent. Among all the traits which have simple and intuitive names and descriptions, there's a strange attribute called compatibility. He has no idea what that is and decides to ignore it for now. There is also a permanent 100 times boost that he can adjust. It's definitely an abnormal skill that he shouldn't use rashly until he fully understands the game's capabilities. Once the warm-up stage is over, the other attributes will probably appear, and the boost will become even more useful. For now, he decides to just adjust the boost to 10 times. As soon as he sets it up, he feels an improved power boost that's 10 times stronger than the others. Lucian finishes healing the coworkers and realizes that she's starving. Maybe it's because she consumed all her magic while healing, but she's suddenly desperately hungry for food. There's nothing to use in the conference room, and they can't just sit here and wait desperately for the rest of the apocalypse. There are still about 20 hours before the players enter the game. Once that time comes, Blue Star will face a massacre even more terrifying than a zombie outbreak. Before then, he has to make as many points as possible so that he can survive after the warm-up stage. Yunqi summons his sword and makes to leave the room while his co-workers ask him what he's doing. With the number of zombies outside, there is no way they will survive. If our MC opens the door, then the zombies will rush in and eat everyone. Yunqi doesn't care for their thoughts and tells them to get out of his way. Lucian also tries to encourage him not to go outside since it's dangerous. Now that they have finally found a place to hide, there's no reason to risk his life to rush outside. Yunqi doesn't agree with them at all. They don't have supplies in the conference room, and hiding there will be the same as waiting for death. It's best to try and kill the zombies outside and the others can wait for their death. He will make sure to close the door behind him so that the zombies won't get to them. Jiajia still tries to convince him, saying that staying inside is a lot better than going outside to seek death. There are way too many monsters outside, and although he has a weapon, that doesn't mean that they aren't concerned about him. Lucian grabs his arm in a desperate attempt to stop him and asks him to wait a little bit longer to see if there could potentially be a rescue attempt from law enforcement. Yunqi doesn't think that law enforcement will be able to do anything to help them. Considering the Apocalypse Game's intervention, it's highly unlikely that they will be rescued. Suddenly, a loud sound comes through from outside the window. The group looks outside to see a large aircraft zooming over the city. The aircraft is the floating port that is anchored above the Alliance headquarters. A voice comes out over a speaker, and the leader of the Military Advance Party's third team, Zhao Lian, announces to all the people on Blue Star to retain their hope. The military has sent out 10 teams to carry out rescue operations. If things continue like this, then rescue operations should be underway, and the military will be able to gain control in about 3 hours. They announce for residents to go to high places while they send people out for support. Things are finally about to turn around, and the nightmare is finally about to be over for them. The group runs towards the open window now that their new hope has arrived. As the ship continues to fly over the city, a sudden burst of energy within causes the leader to stop. The system does not like interference from outside forces, and it uses emergency measures to ensure the normal progression of the game. In an instant, the aircraft which represented humanity's hope suddenly explodes in the sky, before crashing down to the ground in a rain of flaming metal. The giant pieces of the shit crash into the streets, destroying buildings and causing others to fall like dominoes. The office building that Yunqi is in gets hit in the side, and the building turns over. Yunqi is able to use his sword to keep himself from falling out of the open window, and he uses his other hand to grab Lu Xin before she gets sent flying. The others are not so lucky, and they are sucked out of the window to their deaths. It looks like the hellish difficulty of the apocalypse is finally about to start. Now that the apocalypse is in full gear, the system's priority is to ensure the prosperity of the area. In order to achieve that, a certain number of NPCs are provided for the players to kill, and supplies are given to those NPCs to help them survive on their own. Yunqi isn't really in a position at the moment to go chasing after supply boxes, though. He's still hanging off the side of the office building with a sword, while dangling a full-grown woman in his other arm. The parts of the destroyed building continue to fall around them, and he needs to move soon unless the whole building is going to collapse with them still attached to the side. There's no other choice for him to get out of there, and the two of them are going to have to jump off to escape. Lu Xin doesn't subscribe to that idea since a fall from this height is certain to kill them, but Yunqi doesn't have the time to listen to her fears. He tells her that they will jump off at the count of 3, and Lu Xin tries to advise him not to put their lives in danger so recklessly. He doesn't wait for her input and immediately jumps off the building, despawning his sword and holding Lu Xin close to him by her waist. The two fall down multiple stories while Lu Xin clings to him and screams for her life. Thanks to his high agility stat, though, he's able to bounce off the falling bits of debris, catching his fall before he can go too fast. The two of them are able to make it safely to the ground, and Yunqi catches their fall safely with his legs. She thanks him once she realizes that they are not dead, and he managed to bring them down to solid ground. Then he puts her down as the two survey the area, and Yunqi is quickly able to find a supply box hidden under a pile of rubble. It looks like Yunqi chose to jump in this direction because he saw the supplies from the top of the building. He still had the energy to look for supplies, even in the dire situation that they were in. His adaptability truly is insane, and Lu Xun is seeing that for herself. The supply box isn't going to just sit there and wait for them to take it though. A zombie jumps up from a hidden corner and lunges at Yunqi, who manages to block its attack in time. The zombie pushes back against the sword, trying to bite Yunqi, but he's able to keep it away before it can chomp on his neck. He swings his sword, sending the zombie flying back. Instead of charging again though, it lets out a loud screech, drawing multiple other zombies to their area in an instant. In a matter of seconds, the two of them are completely surrounded by a small horde with no real way to escape. The zombies roar and growl at them as they slowly draw closer to the two of them. There are way too many zombies for him to take on all at once, so he tells Lu Xun to move separately from him for now to split the group in half. She asks him what she's supposed to do while they are split up since she doesn't have any fighting power, but Yunqi pushes off and tells her to just run as fast as she can, attracting half of the zombies in his direction while the other half goes for Lu Xun. He cuts down a zombie in his path while dodging the others, and Lu Xun listens to his advice and runs for her life in fear. The two of them run on either side of a wall, and while Lu Xun simply runs in fear, Yunqi slowly cuts down the number of zombies that are following him until they are all dead. Then he rushes over to Lu Xun and takes out the more manageable number of zombies as they chase her down, successfully taking out the horde. They don't have any time to celebrate the small victory as another wave comes crashing in from the destroyed city streets, probably drawn to the sound of fighting. Yunqi doesn't waste any time as he rushes towards them, taking out as many as he can before they can gather into a large group. In an instant, the new wave of zombies are taken out, leaving the two of them safe for the time being. Lu Xun leans against a wall to catch her breath, still shaken from almost losing her life for at least the 5th time today. Meanwhile, Yunqi takes the rare quiet to check through his stats after killing so many zombies. He stares at his sword in glee, happy that he has been able to grow so fast. On top of that, the 10-time point boost that he got as a talent is pretty much allowing him to cheat through the game. Thanks to it, he has gained a lot of experience and points from killing all the zombies. At this point, the boost talent that he has is essentially the same as cheating the game. Since his sword also became a prohibited weapon, he has also become especially powerful in a short amount of time. If only his family had sent a Gatling gun instead of a sword, then this apocalypse would have been way more interesting for him. It's not like acquiring a Gatling gun too would be impossible for his family considering how well off they are. During all the chaos, he almost forgot about the supplies that he fought so hard to safeguard. Now that the zombies are taken care of, it's time for him to look at the spoils of war and check out the supplies that he fought so hard to acquire. Opening the supplies dropped by the system immediately awards him with 1,000 points. That's a lot of points, and just to confirm, he opens up the points leaderboard. According to it, he's ranked 3rd in the whole game and only 200 points behind 2nd place. The other two in the top 3 above him are 2 great benchmarks of the human alliance. One is Fang Gan, the Alliance's god of war, who was promoted to a civilian hero while he worked to lead the Alliance Legion through many military achievements. The other is the Alliance's speaker Yuan Jin, who is the patriarch of the Yuan family and one of the 7 big families in the Alliance. He is also known as the Congress Brain due to his unparalleled intelligence. Even if the apocalypse comes, as long as those two remain alive, then humanity will always have hope. The two of them already have more than 3,000 points, and it's not the kind of point gap you can gain just by killing monsters. It's likely that thanks to the number of elite soldiers under their command, the two have managed to secure a lot of points by scouting and looting supply boxes. Since they are the top powerhouses of Blue Star, it's only natural that they end up at the top of the list. But Yunqi's name is listed with theirs, then he will definitely end up drawing too much attention. He doesn't want to end up making a scene while the game is still starting, so for now, the best thing for him to do is keep a low profile, and to do that, he makes his name anonymous on the leaderboard. Lu Xun walks over as he adjusts his settings and asks what's in the supply box. Inside are several medical items that will definitely come in handy during their survival journey. With potions like these, he can treat common injuries by himself. In fact, he might no longer need to bring Lu Xun with him since she has little fighting power and always ends up causing him trouble. Suddenly, a shriek fills the air, and Yunqi turns around just in time to stop the incoming fist of a zombie from smashing into his head. This zombie is female and looks way more powerful than any of the other zombies that he has faced before. As he holds the zombie back, he tells Lu Xun to stay away from the fight before she gets hurt. She hurries away to give them space and tells him to be careful as she makes her escape. With Lu Xun in a safe place, he doesn't have to worry about her, and Yunqi wastes no time in pushing the zombie away with his sword before bringing it down again on her, causing the zombie to jump away from the strike. Just from the way she moves as she dodges his attacks, he can tell that she's incredibly fast and has the attack power to follow up that speed. In an instant, she lunges back at him and throws her claws at his face. Yunqi is able to dodge the attack to the face, but he takes a nasty scratch on his thigh instead. The impact causes him to fly backwards, but he manages to catch himself despite the blood flowing down his leg. This zombie is similar in size to Lu Xun. It's twice as powerful as every other zombie he has faced so far. It's possible that this zombie is a monster that mutated above level 1. It's a pain in the ass to deal with. But if Yunqi wants to take this zombie on, he's going to have to use one of the buffs that he got from the supply box. He didn't get a chance to carry a lot of loot from the supply box before the zombie attacked, but he managed to grab a combat potion before he got pushed away. He injects the combat burst potion, which increases his combat attributes by 20%, but it only lasts for 10 seconds. Its effects are way too short, and they definitely won't make any difference for him during this fight. Yunqi wonders where in the world this cheap medicine came from, but a roar from the zombie causes his attention to shift away from the terrible medicine and towards her. She doesn't give him any time to complain, and as she comes charging at him again in an instant, he puts up his sword to defend the attack as she comes charging at him with incredible speed. The buffs are small, but they are better than nothing. He uses the zombie's forward momentum to catch it by the shoulder with his sword. It screams out in pain and tries to pull out the sword with its hand, but it's buried deep in her shoulder. There's no way she's going to be able to pull it out in time, so instead, she raises her hand to counterattack while the sword is still on her shoulder. Once again, Yunqi is barely able to avoid another claw scratch to the face, taking a small amount of damage to his cheek. Lu Xun cries out in worry as she sees Yunqi slowly getting overpowered by the monstrous zombie. The zombie roars and continues with the slashing attacks, slowly pushing Yunqi backwards with incredible strength. Eventually, he slams his back into a wall, and the sword that he used to attack is the only thing keeping the zombie far away enough to not scratch him further with her powerful claws. It continues to roar and scratch at his face, and the sword is slowly becoming less and less effective in keeping the monster away from his face. Things aren't looking good for him, and the buff from the combat potion wears off before he's able to do anything substantial with it. On top of that, since he hadn't managed to take all the supplies from the box before the zombie showed up, he has no tricks left to pull. His main priority now should be to find a way to get closer to the supply box. But the zombie is fully enraged, and she will definitely make that a difficult task for him. The zombie continues to roar out in rage as it pushes towards him, and her screaming eventually gets on Yunqi's nerves. With his sword still lodged in her shoulder, he doesn't have a lot to use as a weapon, so in desperation he punches the zombie square in the jaw with an impressive left hook. Then he pulls the sword out of her shoulder and takes the opportunity to make a desperate run for the supply box before she can regain her balance. He gets closer to the box, but the zombie eventually catches herself and chases after him, quickly gaining speed as he runs towards his target. Suddenly, 2 medicine vials are thrown in the air with a quick warning for him to catch it. He snatches them out of the air and looks towards the supply box to see Lu Xun standing close to it with a dagger in her hand. Once she's sure he has the medicine, she raises the dagger in the air, using a spell to make herself as visible as possible while calling for the zombie to come towards her. Yunqi continues to run forward as the zombie pauses for a moment to stare at the crying woman, just as surprised as Yunqi. Lu Xun's plan works, and her desperate move is just enough to buy enough time for our MC to stab both drugs into his arm, healing himself and boosting his strength all at once. It looks like despite her shortcomings, Lu Xun somehow manages to find a way to make herself useful in critical situations. The zombie notices that Yunqi must have gotten some sort of power boost, and she turns her attention back to him as the healing spell clears his wounds and the combat buff boosts his aura, giving him another 10-second boost to his stats, as well as giving him a 10-second pain reduction buff. He walks towards the zombie and points his sword at her. This time, he's going to make sure that he uses his 10 seconds wisely. The zombie rushes towards him as the buffs start to take effect, but Yunqi doesn't wait for her this time, and he rushes back at her. With his stats buffed, he's easily able to keep up with her speed. The two of them reach each other, and Yunqi dodges a powerful slash from the zombie's claws, also managing to get behind her. Before she can react, he thrusts his sword into her back, slicing the zombie cleanly in half and causing her to fall to the ground defeated. With the zombie successfully taken down, Lu Xun rushes over to her partner to check if he's alright. She immediately casts her holy light on him to heal his wounds as the zombie pitifully tries to crawl away with just its torso. As she heals him, he takes a moment to look at her. She may have been weak and a bit simple-minded before, but her skills and adaptability are improving faster than he expected. Lu Xun also stares at him as she heals him. Since the apocalypse began, he has proven himself to be incredibly strong. He could have left her alone after getting the supplies before, but he chose to save her once again when she has been nothing but a liability to him so far. Since he has decided to keep her around, she will do her best to try and help him any way she can. His wounds are all healed, and his arm is good as new. Her magic feels both comforting and warm, and it looks like having a healer by his side is way more useful than loot from a simple supply box. He goes to pick up the dagger that she dropped when she came to heal him and tells Lu Xun to stab the zombie in the heart with it. She hesitates for a moment, but then realizes that Yun Qi is right. She also needs to get stronger so she doesn't have to keep relying on him forever. She walks up to the zombie that has given up on crawling away and just weakly groans on the ground. Then she screams as she raises the dagger over her head and brings it down in the zombie's chest, quickly putting it out of its misery. The zombie girl cries out in pain before eventually going silent, and Lu Xun receives 500 points as a reward for killing a level 5 zombie. She also gets an extra reward in the form of a new level 1 healing spell. This spell is a single target skill, and it has a therapeutic effect on the target of the caster. Yunqi falls to his knees as he realizes that the zombie he just gave up is way more valuable than he realized. If he had killed her instead, his 10 times boost would have turned that 500 points into 5,000 points. He would easily have topped the ranking list and crushed the God of War and the Assembly's president in one swoop. On top of that, she also got a new skill from it which shows just how powerful the monster was. Yunqi starts to hope that there are more level 5 zombies around for him to kill. Lucian rushes to his side after seeing him collapse on the floor, and he lies and tells her that he just felt tired out of nowhere. It looks like he has to take this healer with him for the rest of his life, because he wouldn't want someone else taking her away after what they have been through together so far. He gets up from the ground and tells her that they need to start moving. There are no more supplies in the area, so their next step should be finding a safe shelter to rest. She stops him before he can start walking and tells him that she knows of a place where there are lots of supplies and they can get some rest as well. They head deeper into the city, walking through the alleyways to avoid being spotted by any sudden hordes. The city streets are littered with zombie corpses, and it's clear that there was a fierce fight in the area. All the zombies have been defeated and they lie dead on the floor. Yunqi tells her that they still need to be careful, because a zombie could potentially have escaped the massacre and hidden away. He asks about the shelter he mentioned, wondering if it's the one right across from the Green Bay community. He knows that Lucian lives there, which is probably why she wants to go there. He found out because his male colleagues at work are always asking to take her home, and he guessed from their conversations where her house probably is. Lucian reveals that she definitely has selfish motives for wanting to go home. Mainly, she just wants to make sure that her parents are safe, but she didn't lie about there being valuable supplies in her home. Her mom is a hoarder, especially when it comes to natural fruits and vegetables, and she always brings back lots of fruits from their family farm and stores, which she then keeps in their attic. It should be enough for them to sustain themselves for a long time. On top of that, she would love for him to stay in her house so she can introduce him to her parents. He ignores her completely and turns his attention back to the streets littered with zombies. It's a pity that all of them have been taken out, else he could have farmed some points on the way. Instead, they have to make this trip a mission solely to get supplies. Once he's sure that the coast is clear, he signals for them to get moving. But then he stops her. He wants to make sure that she remembers the rules that he repeatedly told her on their way through the city streets. In the apocalypse, there are 3 types of people that should definitely never be messed with. The first are people who are already proficient in combat from before the apocalypse. They are stronger than average people despite having the same attributes, and that makes them especially dangerous, especially if they have the assassin class, because they might have hidden skill boosts. The second are people with the shooter class. Since everyone is currently a level 1 newbie, 1 bullet is enough to kill NPCs in an instant, and the game also makes it so that only shooters can equip a gun. They are very dangerous, and it's best to run away quickly if you ever encounter one. The third are beast tamers, and they are especially dangerous because they don't need to fight on their own. They can just command their tamed beasts to fight for them. At the current stage of the apocalypse, those types are the undisputed kings at the moment. Looking at it that way, 3 of the 6 basic classes are highly dangerous, and it's best for them to be careful, especially with the shooter. If they ever enter conflict with a shooter, then they might not even be able to see death coming. As they talk, Yunqi notices a red dot on his chest and quickly dodges a bullet flying straight at him. It looks like their talk came just in time because they are about to face a shooter. Another red dot shines against Yunqi's head, and it's clear that the sniper is ready to take another shot if provoked. He radios into his captain, reporting that he has found 2 zombies within the southeast part of Area A. He must think that Yunqi and Lucian are zombies, and he's prepared to take them out. This is exactly what Yunqi feared, and he hurriedly raises his hands to show that he's not a threat. The sniper doesn't immediately buy it and tells them to prove they are still human. Yunqi isn't really sure how they are supposed to do that, but then they notice a zombie still barely crawling around. It roars at them and prepares to lunge and attack, but Yunqi makes quick work of it by cutting off its head. He initially did that just to dispel the zombie suspicion claims, but this is also an easy way to gain points by killing off the still moving zombies. He quickly tells Lucian to do the same so that she can get free points as well. She summons her dagger once again and follows Yunqi's lead to kill off the zombies, getting 100 points per kill. They continue to grind out the kills from each zombie as much as they can until the sniper has enough and tells Yunqi to stop farming easy points with his girlfriend. Our MC is upset that they have to stop using this easy method, but Lucian is more focused on the fact that he thinks they are dating. The sniper takes the 2 of them over to what seems like a secured military site, and he tells other people to check their bodies for any open wounds or signs of infection. They are clearly trying to be as careful as possible when it comes to dealing with the infected. Yunqi takes a moment to look around and take account of his surroundings. Just from what he can see at the entrance, this group seems to mostly consist of shooters with a few mages. Among the remaining who are neither, there are knights, warriors, and even beast tamers. They are also all patrolling in the best position they could be standing in, as if they have been given battle formations for when an attack occurs. It's obvious that the group is a mature team that formed from the moment the apocalypse started, and their leader must also be a professional. Yunqi wonders who they could be and if they are someone from the military. After a quick search by one of the mages, they are confirmed to have no wounds, which means they aren't at risk of being infected. The sniper gets a bit more friendly with them, pointing out that they are pretty lucky to make it all the way to their base without being infected. Their group is the law enforcement team. Specifically, they are police officers from the city's public order department. When the apocalypse started, a lot of zombies appeared in the city center, and their captain led them to break into their base's armory so they could set up a defensive line for evacuation. However, despite their preparations, all the survivors from nearby streets have been evacuated, and they will be withdrawing soon. So it's incredibly lucky that Yunqi and Lu Xin managed to make it all the way to the base in time. It's no wonder there are only zombie corpses lying around and no other people. It's possible that this group took all the survivors in. As they talk, the soldiers suddenly stop and turn to salute their captain who is approaching them. The man is Captain Han Yi, the law enforcement team's leader. He came to personally introduce himself to the two survivors and find out how they managed to make it all the way here. Lu Xin speaks up first and tells him that they are from the Green Bay community. That is where her parents are, and she wants to know how the people of that region are doing and if there are still people living there. Captain Han's expression becomes a lot darker as he reveals that the risk level in Green Bay is very high. If Lu Xin's parents are actually still there, then there is probably no way to save them. Yunqi holds her as she nearly collapses from hearing the dire news, and he takes over talking with the captain. Since there is no proper communication route right now and many people cannot pass information, it's hard to believe that they can be so certain about there not being any survivors in the area. The sniper initially gets angry that the newcomers would dare question their captain, but Captain Han holds him back before he can charge Yunqi. He informs the two of them that his team members have been sending messages on the World Channel to contact survivors around them, and at first, the residents of the Green Bay community responded. But recently, there has been nothing through the channel for half an hour. Moreover, the largest number of zombie migrations all came from over there. It's only logical to believe that the whole place has most likely fallen. Even if he has a weapon, it's unlikely that they can deal with so many zombies all at once with just their power alone. Captain Han advises them not to take any risks, and he thinks that her parents would want them not to die in vain. Yunqi agrees with the captain. Lu Xin's parents might have already been taken out by the zombies, and it would be wise for them not to go there right now. Even though that's the logical conclusion, he's still scared that she won't be able to handle the news. Suddenly, a loud amount of commotion comes from behind them and dust rises to the sky. A soldier comes over and informs Captain Han that there are monsters coming from the north, but this time, they aren't zombies. Yunqi looks in the direction of all the chaos and sees a stampede of massive mutated zombie pigs charging in their direction. The group wastes no time as they mobilize to deal with the incoming threat. They grab riot shields and charge into battle with Captain Han in the lead. He gives orders to the team as they get into formation, telling the shooters first to step forward and set up a defense line in the first row. Then he orders the knights and warriors to prepare in the second row and provide support to the shooters. Finally, the beast tamers are to guard the street corners and give immediate warnings if there are any changes in the fight. All the remaining mages are to stay in the back row and use all their healing magic to keep everyone alive. It's clear that this isn't the first time the law enforcement team has had to fight a huge group of attackers, and all the units seamlessly listen to Captain Han's orders without wasting any time. It has only been 8 hours since the beginning of the apocalypse, but the team has already found a smooth rhythm, and they are working well together. The zombie pigs continue to charge, and eventually they get within shooting range for the shooters. Captain Han wastes no time in ordering them to fire, and the shooters unload bullets into the horde, while the mages provide a protective barrier around them to keep them safe. The bullet rain falls on the zombie pigs, and they start falling one by one, but with each that falls, there are a dozen behind them that continue the stampede. Despite their quick reaction to the attackers, it's not looking good for them. If this goes on, then the monsters will soon break their line of defense. Even their strongest firepower doesn't seem to be enough to beat them, and things are looking grim for the group. Faced with the possibility that the zombie pigs are about to overwhelm them, Captain Han orders all the team members to retreat behind the bunker. The team slowly pushes backwards while the stampede grows closer, but the more time passes, the less ammunition they have to use in the fight. One of the soldiers gets injured as he tries to run away from the stampede. His legs are injured and he can't run fast enough to escape the rampaging pigs. One pig roars as it gets close to him and leaps up to tackle him to the ground. Captain Han tries to call out for his teammate, but the soldier is too far away for the leader to reach him in time. Suddenly, a heavy jet of water sends the pig flying backwards and away from the injured soldier. Everyone turns around to see Yunqi holding a large fire hose connected to one of the military jeeps. He used a high-pressure water gun to push off the zombie pigs. Captain Han is surprised by the talent that he showed to think of a solution like that so quickly despite the situation. Eventually, the injured soldier is brought closer to the rest of the team, and thanks to Yunqi, he survived the near-death experience. Captain Han thanks our MC for saving one of his team members' lives. Yunqi explains that the monsters are sensitive to smells, and he didn't want the smell of blood to attract more of them. Despite the fact that he saved a life and got the favor of the team, Yunqi can't help but feel a bit frustrated. He wanted to keep a low profile and observe their combat capabilities first, but he didn't expect to have to take action so quickly. But he had to do something, and it looks like the number of zombie pigs isn't even reducing. Captain Han calls in the rocket team and orders them to get ready to cover while the rest of the team retreats. The team rushes in with grenade launchers, firing directly into the horde of approaching zombie pigs and sending a majority of them flying from the explosions. They continue the onslaught of attacks, dropping highly explosive rounds into the street and killing off as many of the pigs as they can. The approach looks like it's working, but even with their bodies blown to bits, some of the pigs still manage to get up and start moving again. Yunqi knows that if they don't hit the zombies' vital spots, then no matter how many explosive shells they fire, they won't be able to kill them instantly. This method of killing them is way too inefficient, and they need to do something different. Meanwhile, the team continues to fire shots into the crowd of zombie pigs, intent on blasting as many of the beasts as they can into pieces. But eventually, the firepower reduces, and the rocket team is down to their last shell. Before they can fire it, Yunqi rushes over with his sword and uses it to push the rocket to face the sky. Since he doesn't have the shooter class, he can't hold the gun directly, so he has to use the shooter to aim the gun where he wants it to go. Yunqi puts his hand on the trigger and forces the shooter to press down, firing the last explosive shell into the sky. The shell curves through the sky and crashes into a building, far away from where the zombies are coming from. The soldier angrily asks Yunqi what he thinks he is doing since it looks like he shot wrong and wastes their last shell. But then, the building that he shot into starts to crumble, and a huge chunk of it falls down, directly towards the rampaging zombie pigs. Their roars are cut short as the massive chunk of rubble crashes down on them, killing a large number of them at once while also blocking off the others from continuing their stampede down the road. The shooter can barely believe that Yunqi's random shots seem to work. Fortunately, he was right in his intuition, and it looks like his rushed move managed to save the group. Even Captain Han is impressed by how quick he seems to adapt to the situation and come up with new ideas. Despite their efforts, though, some of the pigs are still alive, and they slowly start to recover. Captain Han reminds them that there are way too many monsters, and they shouldn't let their guard down just because they managed to take down a few of them. Yunqi points out a trail of black smoke coming from the distance. The black smoke is probably coming out of the nuclear power plant close by, and they can also see an exhaust vent as well for the smoke. The plant should have some emergency diesel generators, and the protection system of those generators has most likely been taken out. As he points that out, Captain Han immediately realizes what he's trying to say, and calls out to the vice captain. He used to be a professional electrician before the apocalypse, and Captain Han orders him to take his tools and lead the people to move the electric cable well in Area B. Once they get there, he wants them to peel off the broken copper core and bring it over. The vice captain immediately listens to his superior's orders and gathers the best people he can to get the copper wire. Meanwhile, they use the water hose to spray water on the ground, covering the entire path that the zombie pigs are coming from. The pigs continue their stampede, not caring about the water beneath them. The vice captain comes back with the cable, surging with electricity. The captain orders him to throw it into the water and tells everyone else to get out of the way and avoid it. The cable goes into the water, and the surge of electricity is enough to stop the zombie pigs in their tracks, and it sends them all flying and screeching in pain. The soldiers start getting points for killing the mutated pigs, confirming that finally, they are all dying. After this, even if there are still some surviving pigs, their combat power will be reduced by at least 80%, which will make it way easier to clear them out. The power output from the emergency generator is extraordinary, but Captain Han tells them that it's more than just the emergency generator that did all this damage. After the building collapsed, the metal particles and salt mixed into the water and enhanced the water's conductivity drastically. That is what led to this incredibly charged effect. The captain is sure that Yunqi also figured it out and came up with a solution of using electricity based on the surroundings and existing resources. His ability to adapt to changing circumstances is terrifying, and Captain Han is glad that they are on the same side. But it's way too early for them to celebrate just yet. There are still a few surviving pigs that charge through the electrified water towards them. The warriors and knights carry the riot shields and rush towards the rampaging pigs, ready to meet them halfway and take them out. One of the pigs leaps up and crashes into Yunqi, who blocks the attack with his shield. Then he backs away from the pig, gaining some distance to reevaluate how he's going to fight it. Just from the impact force of the pig, it's stronger than a level 5 zombie. Right now, it's difficult for him to resist their power, let alone the others who can't block it with their shields. The other soldiers use their shields to block the incoming attacks from the pigs, but they just keep coming, and they keep slamming their heads into the shields. They can't hold back the attackers much longer, and if things keep going at this rate, then they are going to be overwhelmed very quickly. If they delay this any further, then things will become very unfavorable for them. They have to do something to turn things around quickly. Another pig runs towards Yunqi, and he rushes towards it as well with his shield up. Captain Han sees him rushing headfirst towards the pig and warns him not to go confronting them head-on if he doesn't want to die instantly. Yunqi plants his feet as the pig closes in and brings his shield down. It's not him that's going to die. Instead, it'll be the pig. Then he stabs his sword in through the front of the shield, bringing it out, ready for the pig to smash itself into it. The pig comes charging in, and just as Yunqi wanted, it slams its face straight into the shield, and into the sword coming out of the front of the shield, killing it instantly. Yunqi kicks the pig away from his shield and gets a notification from the system that he successfully killed a level 1 mutant pig and gained 2,000 points. His total points have reached over 5,000, which allows him to brain the class skill, Resurrection. This skill allows Yunqi to resurrect a being that is the same level or lower than the host. The resurrected being serves the host after resurrection and will automatically synchronize with the host's level. This ability can be used on both NPCs and monsters. This is the first class skill Yunqi has managed to obtain, and he doesn't want to have to wait to test out its power. He uses the skill to resurrect the pig that he just killed, and it immediately wakes up, glowing with the same green aura as our MC and looking even more fierce than when it was alive. The vice captain tries to tell Yunqi to get out of the way because the pig isn't dead yet, but instead of running away, Yunqi climbs on the pig's back and rides it like a mount. The vice captain calls Yunqi a pig rider in shock, but that name sounds awful. Hog rider would be way better, but we're in the wrong universe for that. The pig's combat power is incredible, and it's exactly what Yunqi is looking for. He rides on the pig's back and cuts down multiple pigs in his way at an incredible speed. As he moves through the horde of pigs, cutting down everything in his path, he continues to obtain 2,000 points from each kill. The others are stunned silent by just how powerful Yunqi is as he continues to ride on the pig like a powerful, albeit smelly horse. Yunqi rides straight towards a pig that's charging him head first, and his mount chomps down into the pig's side, killing it with its massive jaws. Even though the mount got the kill, Yunqi still got the points as a result, making this resurrection skill even more overpowered. The soldiers snap out of their shock and plant down their shields while the shooters take aim. Captain Han orders everyone to use all the ammunition they have left to cover Yunqi and make sure he doesn't die. They shoot any pigs that come towards Yunqi, while he continues with his charge. Slowly, the number of pigs around diminish until they are all dead. Now that the pigs have been taken care of, a few zombies come in from the street, probably drawn in by the sounds of fighting. They are pretty much done with all the combat. All they have to do now is get rid of the zombies and they can call it a day. After these battles, the soldiers will be able to complete their missions, and then they can go back home to their loved ones. Captain Han orders the soldiers to pick up their weapons and kill the last monsters so they can finally end the mission. Before they can shoot, a voice calls out to them, begging them not to kill the zombies. It's Lu Xun, and she walks up to Yunqi with a terrified look on her face. He has no idea why she would be reacting so strongly and turns to look into the horde of zombies. At the front are a man and woman, and Yunqi figures out that those two zombies must be Lu Xun's parents. She cries as she calls out for them, but they are no longer her parents, just mindless monsters. Yunqi warns her not to come any closer and moves the pig to stand in front of her and block her line of sight. Lu Xun pauses as Yunqi tries to calm her down. He tells her that those zombies are no longer the parents that she once knew. Seeing family members turned into zombies has to be one of the most horrible things that can ever happen to someone. Captain Han barks out orders to snap everyone out of their daze. They don't have time to laze about and watch the zombies approach. They need to pick up their weapons and fight to kill. The group of soldiers rush into battle while Lu Xun stands in the back, frozen in grief. Yunqi is the first person to rush into the sea of zombies, leaping with the pig directly over to Lu Xun's zombified parents. The two zombies roar at our hog-riding MC, but they are immediately crushed under the massive weight of the zombie pig. Now that he's in the middle of the zombie horde, he's surrounded by several of the undead, and getting out of this situation unscathed will be troublesome. As the zombies rush towards him, a few well-placed bullet shots cause them to fall to the ground immediately. He turns around to two snipers standing over a hill taking aim at the zombies around him. Then from behind, Captain Han charges in with the rest of his men using riot shields to bash the zombies away and make some room. Yunqi isn't alone, and he can go charging in alone either. He doesn't have to be a hero by himself when the law enforcement team is around. The other soldiers chime in as well, saying that they can't let a kid take all the points. Yunqi is happy for the help and makes a deal with them. Each person takes their own prey, and nobody tries to steal each other's kills. With the combined work of all the soldiers, chaos ensues as an all-out war between humans and zombies takes over the area. In about 20 minutes, Yunqi is cutting down the last of the zombies, and the area is more or less cleared out completely. Captain Han also squashes zombies effortlessly with his riot shield, and with that, all the zombies are taken care of and the place is cleared out from any zombie threats. The battle is finally over, and Yunqi takes a moment to rest now that all the zombies have been taken care of, and the battle is finally over. It's a good thing for him that the law enforcement team helped them, otherwise he would have had to face many zombies at once, and that would have left him at least critically injured or dead. As he rests against his pet pig, Lu Xun rushes over to check on if he has any injuries. She kneels beside him and casts her holy light to take care of his wounds, but despite that, she is clearly not in a good place at the moment. There are tears in her eyes, and she's just trying to be strong in hopes of avoiding being a burden to Yunqi. Her mom and dad are already gone, and if Yunqi dies too, then she will really be alone. That's why she has to do her best to take care of him and heal him whenever she can. After a while of healing, Yunqi tells her that his injuries are almost gone, so she can stop with the healing now. Instead, she should take the opportunity to go and say goodbye to her parents. That's when she looks towards the zombie pig and sees her zombie parents still moving and wailing while being crushed by its giant weight. That's why Yunchi rushed out first into the middle of the zombie horde despite the risk of getting surrounded. He wanted to isolate her parents from the rest of them and give her a chance to say her goodbyes to them before they are killed. He gives her his sword to use to finish the job, and she solemnly accepts it from him. Then she walks over to her parents, who are still groaning and wailing from underneath the weight of the pig. The roar and scream louder as she gets closer, and it's obvious they are way too far gone to even remember their daughter. She trembles as she greets her parents, even though they definitely can't hear her. Yunki watches over her as she takes the sword in her hands. Killing loved ones will never be an easy task, even if they have been zombified and turned into monsters. When he starts to suspect that she might not be able to do it, he starts to suggest that he can be the one to kill them if she can't do it, but she doesn't answer. Instead, she continues to talk to her parents while shaking and crying uncontrollably. She assures them that their daughter is alive and well, and that she found a companion who she can rely on. Then she tells them that she will do her best to live well from now on, so they don't have to worry about him. For a moment, the zombies stop growling and just stare at her, almost as if they understand what she's saying. Then, she raises the sword above her head and brings it down on the two zombies, intending to put an end to their pain by giving them a quick and painless death.